Yesterday, we told you about the fraud task force being unleashed in Minnesota. Well, tonight, the story is exploding. We now know the investigation is going nationwide. We now know Florida is moving to cut off the financial pipeline entirely. And we now know exactly why Democrats in blue states are panicking. Why? Because the walls are closing in. And here's where we are. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent announced that 4 specific money service businesses in Minneapolis and St. Paul are under enhanced federal investigation. Deep audits, transaction tracing, IRS enforcement, criminal referrals. Senator Ted Cruz confirmed that hundreds of millions of dollars from Minnesota funded radical Islamic terror in Somalia. He said Minnesota taxpayers became one of the largest funding sources for al-Shabaab. But tonight, the scope is expanding. The Treasury Secretary confirmed this same investigative framework is being deployed to California, Illinois, and New York. Ghost daycares, fake nonprofits, welfare fraud mills. It's all now on the table. And the people who profited from this racket are watching their entire empire crumble. You see, when fraud operations get this massive and they get exposed, when your own government allows billions to flow to terrorists while telling you there's no money left, you have to ask yourself a hard question. Is your financial future really secure? Well, many investors in their 40s and 50s discover they have little to no exposure to precious metals. Their savings are tied to the same paper system that just got exposed. Noble Gold Investments helps you reduce risk by adding physical gold to your portfolio. No pressure, no gimmicks, just clear answers. Visit nextnewsgold.com. That's nextnewsgold.com. Now, tonight we're learning even more. Florida has filed legislation to ban illegal aliens from sending remittances out of the country. No bank accounts, no loans, no home ownership assistance, no licenses. If you're here illegally in Florida, the financial oxygen is being cut off. A private investigator in California revealed there are ghost daycares all throughout the state. And a directive is now in effect to prevent public access to records. Gavin Newsom's scared, and the Treasury Secretary announced that people on public assistance will be banned from sending money out of the United States entirely. No more taxpayer-funded cash pipelines overseas. Now, Stephen Crowder found this out. $1.7 billion went to Somalia in remittances in 2023 alone, which is more than the entire government's budget. That's our money. We need every law enforcement agency in the country in Minnesota to shut this criminal operation down. $1.7 billion. Is there no way to get that back? You can't claw that back? How did they even get there? It's all in remittances through Western Union. There's no way to get that back. It's all, they're already building and buying AK-47s and vests, you know, the special vests. Is there no audio?
$7 billion. So let's add up. Hey, you need them. You know who needs these Somalis to be in the United States? People in Somalia. Because in 2023, remittances to Somalia alone totaled $1.7 billion, which is more than the entire Somali government budget.
40% in that same article, 40% of households in Somalia get remittances from the United States.
Wow. So let's add up. Hey, you need
get
them.
Remittances. Federal testimony reveals troubling American taxpayer money reaching terrorist organizations through fraudulent financial networks. According to witness testimony before Congress, funds have been traced through remittances to Somalia, with investigators claiming connections to al-Shabaab, al-Qaeda's largest affiliate in Somalia. They have their hands all through the network. When asked directly if the United States taxpayer dollars remitted into Somalia have fallen into the hands of al-Shabaab, the witness confirmed, yes, we have plenty of evidence of that, for money going directly to al-Shabaab, but then also indirectly because they take a cut of whatever gets sent to Somalia.
And they
about use of funds. You've talked about some of these funds were used to buy property in Kenya.
Yes, sir.
Property in Turkey. Do I have that correct?
Yes.
Remittances back to Somalia.
Yes.
I think it's important for the committee to understand that these remittances in part are used in what's called the Hawala. I want to make sure I have the terminology right. The Hawala network. Ms. Robbins, can you speak to what the Hawala network is?
Yes. So it's an informal network where someone goes to a Hawala place in Minneapolis, which is like a money exchange or a money sending site, and they say, I want to send X amount of dollars, and then there's a receiving site in Somalia, and they put the cash, take the cash out. So money doesn't cross the border. It's an order for money here that gets transmitted to Somalia.
For the time, because I'm out of time, I want to expound. In Somalia and other parts in the Middle East region writ large, a Hawala network is a bunch of money exchangers hand to hand, not bank account to bank account.
Exactly.
And what is clear in Somalia and other parts is that Al-Shabaab, the largest Al-Qaeda affiliate in Somalia, they have their hands all through this network. So taxpayer money, United States dollars that are being remitted into Somalia in part have been utilized or have fell into the hands of Al-Shabaab. Do you think that's a correct assessment?
Yes, we have plenty of evidence of that, from money directly going to Al-Shabaab, but then also indirectly because they take a cut of whatever gets sent to Somalia.
Thank you so much, Chairman. I know I'm over. Thank you for talking about use of funds. You've talked about some of these funds were used to buy property in Kenya.
So how much more do you need to know? The CIA World Fact Book pays close attention to remittances because it's one of the top ways the blob funds proxy wars and political influence work. When state USAID, DHS, HHS pay for migrant and refugee housing and cash debit cards, it beefs up remittances sent to networks back home.
Remittances are 6% of GDP. You know why the CIA cares about remittances? Because of refugee programs. You know, I always tell you guys that refugee programs are not just about like population displacement of like Republicans. Like, why is it like Mike DeWine wants, to bring in the Haitians, even though Ohio is a Republican state, and the Haitians are clearly going to be displacing Republican voters and turning the state blue or purple. Well, it's because Ohio is it's a military state. Huge amount of military infrastructure. DeWine is trying to build the military economy in Ohio. And when I mentioned that refugee programs, like refugees from Haiti, et cetera, coming into Springfield or wherever it is in Ohio, right? Let me finish this up. Because remittances, when we bring refugees here and then give them, we pay for everything. We pay for their houses, their cars, we give them jobs. The deal is they go back and they send remittances to their network. So we basically sponsor our shadow government in their conflict zone, or we fund the narco gangs when they come over here, and we fund everything for them, and then they just send money back home to remittances. Okay, it's a way of funding a proxy war. When we bring Somali immigrants from Somalia to Minneapolis, and then we pay for their entire life, so they have all this disposable income. The deal is they take that disposable income and they send it back to those groups in Somalia that are considered to be our pro-democracy assets there. This is why the CIA pays attention to remittances on CIA.gov. You follow? Remittances are 6% of GDP. You know why the CIA cares about remittances? Because of refugee programs. You know, I always tell you guys that
refugee programs. Here is the Treasury Secretary announcing people on public assistance will now be banned from sending money out of the U.S.
Here, right. So we're lowering that to 3,000, and we're also targeting the 2 counties here, and we're going to do enhanced surveillance. And from now on, anyone who wires money out from one of these money service businesses has to check a box saying whether they are on public assistance. And if you are on public assistance, we are going to start pushing that you cannot wire money out of the country.
Oh, gosh. Well, what if they lie and they don't tell us for public assistance?
Well, then
that's a crime, lying on a federal form.
We're going to follow it up, and we are going to push that you can no longer do that. The American people, our generosity has been taken advantage of.
Our generosity is funding al-Shabaab, an Iranian interest it could be.
Well, the money.
I mean, this is really bad.
The money is supposed to go for alleged asylum seekers and their families and children. And if you were wiring the money out of the country, one of two things must be true. You are getting too much money and your benefits should be cut, or you are part of this conspiracy. Where did that money come from? We're going to find it out. That's what Treasury does. IRS has a group called Criminal Investigations. Criminal Investigations was the group.
Right.
So we're lowering that to 3,000.
Oh, good.
And we're also targeting the 2 counties here. And we're going to do enhanced surveillance. And from now on, anyone who wires money out from one of these money service businesses has to check a box saying whether they are on public assistance. And if you are on public assistance, we are going to start pushing that you cannot wire money out of the country.
Oh, gosh. Well, what if they lie and they don't tell?
And what else? Let's keep going. Verified Florida's HB 1307 filed January 9th by Representative Jacques, and SB 1380 by January 8th by Senator Martin, urged by CFO Ingoglia, proposed banning remittances, bank accounts, loans, licenses, and home aid for undocumented immigrants. They presume fraud in all accidents and raise employer penalties. Here it is. Florida is on the verge of banning illegal aliens from sending remittances.
Assistance program, a law that prohibits that. So our legislation will ban illegal aliens from benefiting from any down payment assistance programs or silent second home mortgages, whether it is done by a government agency, a quasi-government agency, or an NGO. Because some of these nonprofits will go out and they will create these programs specifically to go out and target illegal immigrants for down payment so they can purchase homes. So we believe that's important to be on the books because you never know what the future of the state of Florida is going to look like. I'd rather have it on the books than try to pass a law later if for some reason we do not have sensible, common sense people in control of the state. It will prohibit illegal aliens from receiving any license issued by the Department of Financial Services. One of the things that we need to do as a state is we need to make sure that when we are issuing licenses, that we need to check to make sure that they are in the country legally. But almost as important is to make sure that we can revoke any license that has been issued when they had legal status here, a law that prohibits that. So our legislation will ban illegal aliens from...
We've got more. The party's just getting started. A private investigator reveals that there are ghost daycares all throughout California. Of course there are. There's now a state directive in effect to prevent public access to state records. Remember those videos we showed you of people going into the state records to find these these daycare centers all throughout the country in different parts, Ohio and wherever? So they saw what was happening there. Oh, we're going to lock that down. We're going to lock that portal down. You can't go in there. You can't search for it. So now they are preventing you from reviewing the public record. They're locking it down.
It got word after what's been exposed with the daycares in Minnesota. I'm a licensed private investigator in California. I started looking into state records and I found ghost daycares. These are places where the state inspectors showed up. There would be 28 kids enrolled and there were no kids there in the middle of the day and in the middle of the week.
All right. So a ghost daycare. Is that something Gavin Newsom could say, all right, we'll try to shut that down? Does he cooperate when you start raising this?
No. In fact, today, it got word from the governor's office. There's been a directive to actually shut down public access. So right now, you can't even search the own state website to look into these ghost daycares. But I have found a workaround.
Oh,
okay. Really? Well, we don't want to tell the governor that you found a workaround. So
let's find out.
But it does sound like he's trying to cover his tracks. Like this is a cover-up.
We're talking about billions of dollars in California. Today in New York, Kathy Hochul, she said she wants to increase child care subsidies to $4.5 billion. We're talking about the same amount in California, if not even more. After what's been exposed.
So despite all that, they're going to go ahead and increase the child care subsidies. Oh, so you can open up more fraudulent daycares. And more from the Treasury Secretary on those multiple investigations.
Follow the money. This is an outrage. President Trump is outraged. I'm outraged. The whole administration is outraged. And we are here to follow the money because that's what Treasury does. We have done that for years. We did it with the mafia. We have done it with the cartels. And now we are going to do it with these Somali fraudsters. And Treasury has something called FinCEN, Financial Crimes Enforcement Network, and we are coming in, tomorrow we are announcing that 4 investigations into money service businesses that we believe may have wired money out of the country, a lot of the ill-gotten stolen money over to the Middle East, over to Somalia. We'll see where that's going. So we're announcing investigations into 4 of those money service businesses. We are going to put in what we call a geographical targeting order. So there's something called a suspicious activity report. If a certain amount of money gets wired anywhere,
right?
So we're lowering that to $3,000.
Oh, good.
And we're also targeting the 2 counties here. And we're going to do enhanced surveillance. And from now on, anyone who wires money out from one of these money service businesses has to check a box saying whether they are on public assistance. And if you are on public assistance, we are going to, this is an outrage. President Trump is outraged.
If you're on public assistance, we are going to block your remittance. The next steps for the Treasury. Oh boy. Here's more. This is an official statement now.
Our nation. Earlier this morning, I met with several financial institutions and made clear we must do more to safeguard our nation from waste, fraud, and abuse. The time has come for accountability. President Trump wants accountability. I want accountability. The American people want accountability, and they will get accountability. That is why I'm announcing several initiatives Treasury is taking to target fraud here in Minnesota. And the Minnesota protocols will serve as a genesis and a launching pad for investigations into other states. First, we have followed the money and identified the money service businesses that may have transferred taxpayer funds overseas. Our team at FinCEN has just provided formal notification to these businesses that they are under investigation. These businesses had an obligation to comply with anti-money laundering laws, and they will be held responsible for any crimes they committed. FinCEN has also issued a geographic targeting order for Hennepin and Ramsey counties that require banks and money transmitters to report additional information about funds transferred outside of the United States. This will put a microscope on these businesses, advance prosecutions, and assist in the recovery of funds laundered internationally. Fraudsters in Minnesota stole at least $300 million meant for children in need, and we must prevent fraud of this scale from occurring in the future. Accordingly, FinCEN today issued an alert to financial institutions that will help them identify and report specific warning signs of fraud in federal child nutrition programs. Fraud must be stamped out early, and this alert will help law enforcement do just that. Our investigators at IRS-CI have played a critical role in uncovering fraud, and the role of the IRS in these investigations will continue. I am pleased to announce that IRS Civil Enforcement is auditing financial institutions that facilitated the laundering of Minnesota funds, in addition to helping support criminal and civil enforcement efforts. The IRS will also soon announce the formation of a task force to investigate any fraud and abuse involving pandemic-era tax incentives and misuse of 501c3 tax-exempt status by entities implicated in the Minnesota-based social services fraud schemes. We are committed to preventing fraud and fraudulent nonprofits from taking advantage of the American taxpayer. Lastly, Treasury is providing training to Minnesota law enforcement on how to utilize financial data, such as suspicious activity reports, to better combat these fraud schemes. We will not let the incompetence and recalcitrance of Governor Walz stop law enforcement from holding these perpetrators accountable. President Trump is dedicated to ensuring honest Minnesotans are not cheated and their hard-earned tax dollars are not being abused. Treasury will deploy all tools to bring an end to this egregious, unchecked fraud and hold perpetrators to account. We look forward to sharing our findings and keeping you all updated. Earlier this morning, I met with several financial institutions.
Oh, and we will be paying very close attention. And I'm sure Governor Walz and Gavin Newsom and J.B. Pritzker are all going to be paying attention. Here's more. This is the official statement on the official investigation, on the enhanced investigations.
We have targeted enhanced investigations for four MSBs, money service businesses, in greater Minneapolis, St. Paul. As they are under investigation, I cannot name those businesses. We will make the details of the investigation available as they become as we gather further information. And your last question is an excellent one, that we do not know the depth, breadth, and collusion in this financial calamity that Governor Walz has allowed to have happen. That was this directed from overseas? Is it an endogenous flourishing of these fraudsters that Governor Walz allowed to grow right here in the backyard and take advantage of hardworking people of Minnesota? We'll see. So we are going to track this everywhere from top to bottom, and we will get to the bottom of it. And as we have more details, we will make those available.
And think about this. You see, Walz is really the canary in the coal mine here. What's about to happen is, see, all these other governors are freaking out. Hochul, Pritzker, Newsom, all of them freaking out because they know what's happening in their state, and they know they've all looked the other way, maybe even profited from it. And that's what these investigations are going to find. They're going to do these forensic audits, and it's going to go all the way. So what you're seeing here with the Treasury Secretary is going to be repeated. Mark my words, it's going to be repeated. You're going to see this with Newsom. You're going to see this with Pritzker. You're going to see this with Hochul. And each one of those governors is going to respond the way they always do. This is an attack. This is racism. This is, Orange Man bad. They're going to deflect all they can. They're going to start more wildfires, or who knows what they're going to try to do. But this is only the beginning. And you're watching it right here unfold. Okay, yeah, exactly. This is just what I said. Democrats in California, Illinois, and New York are furious. Scott Bessent confirms their new task force will be investigating in Minnesota, will be deployed nationwide. So this is, again, like I just said.
Thank you. Minnesota is going to be the protocols, procedures, and the investigative techniques, as well as the collaboration with other agencies. Minnesota is going to be the genesis for a national rollout.
Yeah, it's all coming down. Here's Nick Shirley. Inside the Minnesota Somali malls, you'll find crammed shops, grocery stores, phone companies, and hawala money, wiring businesses sending millions in U.S. dollars, including taxpayer funds from fraud schemes back to Somalia. Nick Shirley on the case again.
If you're at this grocery store, it's actually not just like a normal grocery store. There's actually a bunch of other stores inside of the grocery store. So right here you have one store, right here you have another store, And then right here, you have another store. Then up here, you have another store. In total, inside of this section of the grocery store, there are 6 separate stores. How's life here as a Somalian?
Life is good. I do phone bills, sending money to Africa. That's where I do. The business is good.
And how have you seen the rise of Somalians and the rise of Islam here inside of Minnesota?
As well, the rise is good and been allowed. We have a place to pray, and life is good.
How long have you lived here in America for?
For 10 years now.
And when you came here, did the government bring you here, or did you come here by your own choice?
I came here by my own choice. I was one of the refugees from Uganda. I was brought by UN.
You were brought by the UN to come into the United States?
Yes. And life is good, We try to enter into businesses, we intermingle, and we do what is required.
Out of this grocery store, it's actually not just like a normal grocery store. There's actually a bunch of other stores inside of the grocery store. So right here you have one.
Just like they've got all those healthcare in the same building, right? Well, here's Ted Cruz.
Fraud. I'm chairing a hearing in the Senate on January 28th on this fraud. We're going to look at Minnesota, Maine. We're going to look at all the different states where it's happening. But, it is, I'll give you an amazing stat. Al-Shabaab, the radical Islamic terror group in Somalia. Do you know who the single largest source of funds to them was?
The Somalis in Minnesota?
The Minnesota taxpayers. The single largest.
You found that link?
Yes. No, that has been publicly reported. So billions of dollars Somalians in Minnesota have sent back to Somalia. Hundreds of millions of that ended up in the coffers of Al-Shabaab, who are engaged in radical Islamic terrorism. That's how bad this corruption is.
You see, that's why the streets are on fire. This is why the riots are being staged. This is why blue state officials are threatening federal agents, because when the money stops flowing, the entire racket collapses. The fraud task force is not a warning shot. It's the opening phase of a dismantling operation. And the people who got rich off American taxpayers while funding terror overseas know their time is up. So here's the bottom line. For years, American citizens were told there was no money for anything. Meanwhile, billions were siphoned out through fraud networks operating in broad daylight. Fake daycares collecting millions, nonprofits that existed only on paper, money wiring shops, sending cash to terror-controlled regions, and nobody in power did anything until now. Treasury is moving. Trump is pissed. The IRS is moving. Criminal referrals are coming. Senator Ted Cruz is chairing Senate judiciary hearings. Names will be named, bank records will be subpoenaed, and the American people will finally see where their money went. Think of this as DOGE on a macro scale, targeting every single state. The investigation that started in Minnesota is now going nationwide. California, Illinois, New York, Florida. Right? And what's Florida doing? They're cutting off the pipeline at the state level. The financial oxygen is being shut down. So here is my question. Should everyone involved face prosecution? Yes or no? Answer in the comments. And check out the Next News merch shop in the description. Stand with us.
The system controls information. Information control is power. I want you to see this. The truth only survives together. They don't want this shared. Share this now.